So, I'm very pleased to welcome Ann Walton from Millhouse Training. Ann, hello.
Hello.
And thank you for joining us on the Care Channel.
That's a pleasure.
So, we've just seen a clip with a nan and a granddaughter where the indications would show that there might be some dementia there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks they know what dementia means. We've all heard of dementia, but really, truly, what is dementia? What do people go through when suffering with this terrible disease?
Dementia is a word that describes a group of symptoms that often includes memory loss, disorientation, so becoming lost in what were previously familiar surroundings, may include failure to recognise faces or objects that were previously known to the person, and the thinking skills such as planning and reasoning and judgment. There are other symptoms as well that may occur, but those are probably the earliest causes.
So within the clip then that we've seen, confusion around spatial awareness, putting cups in the oven, obsession with cleaning, all of those would be indicators of some form of dementia.
Yes, we'd certainly see those as warning signs. For instance, putting the cups in the oven. An oven can look a little bit like a cupboard in as much as it's squarish, it's got a door at the front, and people with dementia may make those misjudgments about the object that they're seeing, and that can be quite dangerous sometimes, because sometimes people will use an object for a purpose that it's not intended, and there may be a risk to them from that.
So many different factors, lots of complex issues,
Very much so.
Very different for everybody, no standard symptoms that everybody has. So from a care point of view then, it must be very difficult and very complex in identifying the correct care plan. What's important then when dealing with the care of dementia from the point of view of caring at home and then within a care home?
At home, there is the distinct advantage of the fact that the environment is likely to be more familiar to the person, and the people around them are likely to be more familiar. And they will also be living within their own chosen lifestyle, and they'll be following their own routines, which will be more familiar. In a care environment where people move into a care setting or have external carers going in, the absolute essential is to try to get to know the person and see the person, not just the illness. That's not to say that we don't recognise how much support the person might need, but we should absolutely start from looking at the things that the person can do, and also understand them in terms of their biography, their lifestyle, the people and the things that are important to them, their cultural beliefs, their status, because if we understand the person, we're much more likely to be able to understand how they're behaving and the support that they may need, and the level of disorientation that they may be experiencing, which can fluctuate.
So when putting together a training scheme or a training programme to help carers with the care of people with dementia, what are the things which you consider are important that you focus on within that training programme?
As I said, the absolute key essential is to see the person first, and so the model of care which we tend to focus on now is something called person-centred care, which is really exactly what it says. It's looking at the person within the context of their life and their relationship, regarding them as a valuable individual and not disregarding them in any way from our society because they're a person who happens to be living with dementia. And from that we can then work out what's important to them, what care preferences they would probably have had. We can work in cooperation and collaboration with the family and other professional carers so that we really keep the person at the centre of what we're doing. And that's very much the focus of any training, is to help people to understand that really important basis.
So in a nutshell then, the training that you're advocating for people who care for individuals with dementia is about the individual and not the process.
Absolutely. It's important that people understand what dementia is and how it may affect the person, because if they don't understand that, it will be difficult for them to understand and support the person in an appropriate way. For instance, some behaviour may be seen as challenging or resistive, but that person is simply expressing through their behaviour how they're feeling, which may be fear or embarrassment or feeling vulnerable. And if the carers don't understand the process that's occurring within the person, they might find that difficult and may react inappropriately to that person and not provide the support that they need.
Very, very valid and very much a poignant point. We've spoken about training of people that work within the care sector, but what about the impact on the relative? How do you help the relatives to support the individuals that have dementia, but also to cope with some of the struggles and the frustrations that they must go through themselves?
Absolutely. I very much feel that helping somebody to live with their dementia involves all of the people that are significant to them in their life, and the people that are supporting them, whether it be family members or neighbours and friends. It's very important that we understand how they're feeling. It may be very, very difficult to continue to care for somebody that you've been married to, for instance, for 50 years when they fail to recognise you anymore.
And what about the sector as a whole, finally? What should be happening at national level? Some fundamental key changes, say, that you'd like to see from government, either from a point of view of funding or legislation?
I think that there's still a great deal of work to be done. There's been a lot of development in dementia care recently, and that is probably because, as you said earlier, with the demographics, it is a rising population of people that will be living with dementia, and we've really got to get to grips with it. There are difficulties around how much it costs, but actually I believe that we make choices as a society, and the older people in our society need to be, in my view, given much more value and seen as important members of our society and not just a burden on our economy. I understand that there are going to be financial challenges in that, but in actual fact what we need to do is invest in the sector, which includes things like care home fees to make them at a realistic level, but it's also about the culture within the sector, which is beginning to improve and can continue to improve. But that does require people to invest both emotionally and financially, and we need to include relatives, friends and significant others in that process, so that we're really working in a community-based, multidisciplinary way. And we need access so that where care homes can admit people with confidence that there is some support from specialists. It's not fair that people who are in care homes find it difficult to access specialist community services, so that when people need some more advice and some support, it is available for them on a very equitable basis. And that's what I'd like to see, a range of services tailored around the individual. That's the service that I'd like to see in the future, so that people have their care in the appropriate place throughout their life.
So, there we are. The thoughts and insights from a specialist within dementia care. And thank you very much for your time today.
It's a pleasure.
I think there's lots for us to think about, both from an individual point of view, but also from a sector point of view. Thanks for your time, and the Care Channel wishes you well with this wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you.